Welcome, Age of Vintage Society. Deborah Kerr has usually been labelled the cinematic embodiment of the English rose, ladylike from coiffure to pedicure, perfectly enunciated English, a distinctive coolness, poise and class. How Deborah Kerr's on-screen kiss became Hollywood's most famous sensual scene. Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Age of Vintage channel. Deborah Kerr, class and beauty personified. Deborah Kerr, who shared one of Hollywood's most famous kisses while portraying an army officer's unhappy wife in From Here to Eternity, and danced with the Siamese monarch in The King and I, was an unforgettable talent. Though the alabaster-skinned redhead was honoured that evening for her impeccable grace and beauty, the secret of Deborah Kerr's singular appeal was her devil-may-care peccability. She played ladies who didn't mind if their tramp showed. Kerr's roles as forceful, sometimes frustrated women pushed the limits of Hollywood's treatment of sex on the screen during the censor-bound 1950s. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences nominated Kerr 6 times for Best Actress, but never gave her an Academy Award until it presented an honorary Oscar in 1994 for her distinguished career as an artist of impeccable grace and beauty, a dedicated actress whose motion picture career has always stood for perfection, discipline and elegance. She had the reputation of a no-problem actress. "I have never had a fight with any director, good or bad," she said toward the end of her career. "There is a way round everything if you are smart enough." Deborah Kerr was simply a treasure, beloved by her co-workers and generally free from scandal. The closest she came was when it was reported that she had fallen in love when her marriage was apparently over. But that was it. Her screen presence of class personified her personal behaviour. Deborah Kerr exuded class, that is indisputable, but she also happened to be one of the most emotionally and sexually complex screen performers, whether female or male. That is what made her so compelling. Kerr's particular brand of female complexity has been relatively rare on film. Patrician women, think Greer Garson, Kerr's English lady predecessor at MGM, Irene Dunne, Madeleine Carroll, Audrey Hepburn, Grace Kelly, have generally been either asexual, desexualized, or sexually unthreatening, their sensuality boulderized either in the screenplay or in the editing room. Particularly in American movies, most actresses who have played sympathetic characters, including Hollywood's wide array of family-friendly sex symbols, have displayed charm, humour, pathos, and at times romantic yearning, but little to no raw erotic hunger. Think Katharine Hepburn, Rosalind Russell, Jean Arthur, Olivia de Havilland, Myrna Loy, Joan Fontaine, Jean Crane, Marilyn Monroe, Shirley MacLaine and Kim Novak. You most likely won't find Deborah Kerr labelled a sex goddess anywhere, but that's merely because her sexual allure, apart from the beach scene in From Here to Eternity, was hardly obvious. Kerr's seething sensuality had nothing to do with sultriness, come-hither looks, or bare body parts. Deborah Jane Kerr Trimmer, daughter of a Scottish naval officer who served in World War I, was born in Helensburgh, Scotland in 1921. Her father was a civil engineer who died when she was 14. She moved with her parents to England when she was 5, and she started to study dance in the Bristol school of her aunt. She soon switched to drama, however, and began playing small parts in repertory theatre in London until it was shut down by the 1939 outbreak of World War II. After reading children's stories on British Broadcasting Corporation radio, she was given the part of a hat-check girl with 2 lines in the film Contraband, but her speaking role ended on the cutting room floor. Through her aunt's connections, she got work with the Oxford Repertory Company and made her film debut supporting Wendy Hiller in Major Barbara. Kerr won a scholarship to continue studying ballet in London, and at 17 she made her stage debut as a member of the Corps de Ballet in Prometheus. She continued making films in Britain during the war, showing her versatility and range. She played 3 roles in Michael Powell's The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, which, along with her extraordinary performance as the nun in Powell's Black Narcissus, got Hollywood's attention. It is astonishing how she manages to make the 3 parts distinctly separate as characterizations, said New Movies magazine at the time. Not long after marrying former RAF squadron leader Anthony Bartley in 1945, Deborah Kerr was imported to MGM Studios, where mogul Louis B. Mayer moulded her in the Jeanette MacDonald Greer Garson form of Great Lady. Black Narcissus became an international hit and led to an MGM contract and the opportunity to play opposite Clark Gable in The Hucksters later that year. After 1947, Kerr established herself in Hollywood, typecast by MGM, in what Kerr referred to as tiara roles, a well-bred young British matron. She went on to work with virtually all the other top American actors and with many top directors, including John Huston, Otto Preminger and Elia Kazan. Kerr looked and acted like a mature woman, even in her 20s. In other words, there was nothing kittenish about Deborah Kerr. She didn't pout. She was decorative and unmemorable in prestige pictures such as King Solomon's Mines and Quo Vadis. It was only after replacing Joan Crawford as the sex-starved army wife in From Here to Eternity that Deborah Kerr made an American film equal to her British work. Her ability to project the contradictory aspects of character helped her to create a new screen archetype, the very proper adulteress. Tired of being typecast in ladylike roles, she rebelled to win a release from her MGM contract and get the role of Karen Holmes in From Here to Eternity. Playing the army officer's alcoholic, sex-starved wife in a fling with Lancaster's Sergeant Warden opened up new possibilities for Kerr. She played virtually every part imaginable, from murderer to princess to a Roman Christian slave to a nun. It is one of the most celebrated images in cinema, an icon of romance, Burt Lancaster and Deborah Kerr kissing as the waves crash over them in the 1953 film From Here to Eternity. But behind the Hollywood gloss is a tale of censorship and repression, with the author of the award-winning novel on which the film was based forced to remove scenes from the manuscript before publication. Columbia head Harry Cohn took some convincing, but he finally realised the publicity value of announcing that the role of Karen Holmes, the promiscuous wife in From Here to Eternity, would be going to Deborah Kerr, a completely against-type casting. Cast against her seemingly fragile type, she was formidable as the sexually rapacious wife who has an affair with Officer Lancaster at the time of Pearl Harbor. Today, the famous beach scene, indeed the whole adaptation of James Jones' novel, seems somewhat tame. Not so in the early 1950s. Ever conscious of her image, Kerr joked while shooting bathing suit tests for the scene, "I feel naked without my tiara." It has since emerged that Deborah and Burt Lancaster embarked on a torrid affair during the shoot, both on-screen and off. Fred Zinnemann's Academy Award-winning blockbuster marked one of the rare times when Kerr's physique played a part in her erotic persona, as she parades around Hawaii in Lana Turner-type shorts and frolics on the wet sand with brawny Burt Lancaster. Her marriage was in name only anyway. 7 years later, in June 1960, Tony and Deborah finally called it a day. It had not worked for years, and they had become virtual strangers a decade ago. Deborah was deeply in love with writer Peter Viertel by now, and they married 6 weeks after her divorce was finalised. They would remain together until Deborah's death. Adultery was a theme of a rather greater book, Graham Greene's The End of the Affair, which brought her back to England. An underrated film, it suffers from a miscast, rather lightweight Van Johnson as the writer, but she and a fine British cast saved the day. An attempt was made to revamp Eternity, with William Holden replacing Lancaster in The Proud and the Profane, before she went on to her biggest popular success, a rather lacklustre version of The King and I. She and Yul Brynner redeemed the rather staid direction, and thanks to dubbing from Marnie Nixon on the difficult passages and high notes, Deborah Kerr sang, danced and acted herself into a third Oscar nomination and a box office smash. She refused to play a nude scene in The Gypsy Moths, released in 1968. It was when they started that "now everybody has got to take their clothes off," she said. "My argument was that it was completely gratuitous. Had it been necessary for the dramatic content, I would have done it." In fact, she undressed for the arrangement, even though the scene was later cut. There the nude scene was necessary, husband and wife in bed together, Kerr said. That was real. Less obvious is Kerr's headmaster's wife in Tea and Sympathy, who, despite her discreet clothing and demeanour, ends up seducing one of her husband's teenage students. Her greatest stage success had been in this once controversial film, where she played a school teacher who seduces a pupil who believes himself to be homosexual. She filmed it in 1956, but the screen version was even milkier than the Broadway success. Her other stage successes included Separate Tables, Candida and The Last of Mrs. Cheney, among many others. But it is as a screen actress that she would be best remembered, since she had the beauty, the reserve, and the inner quality that the camera loves. By a happy chance, her farewell to the big screen utilised those attributes. It's all for a good cause, of course. The sensitive adolescent thinks he may be homosexual, though it's hardly the type of behaviour society would look kindly upon. Additionally, Kerr makes it clear that she isn't going to lie down with young and handsome John Kerr, no relation, merely out of charity. But the best and the most dangerous of all is her Christian governess in Jack Clayton's superb The Innocents, seeing ghosts and sexual misconduct everywhere. When the governess receives a goodnight kiss on the lips from a pre-teen boy who she suspects is having a ghost-induced incestuous relationship with his younger sister, Kerr's look of shock, confusion and "this feels good" is nothing short of masterful. Most of Deborah Kerr's other classy ladies also displayed socially dubious, if not downright unacceptable, characteristics and/or found themselves in sexually delicate circumstances. Kerr would even have made Alfred Hitchcock's Marnie watchable, and had she starred in both Rear Window and Vertigo in the James Stewart roles, perhaps those two movies would have merited all the praise that has been bestowed upon them. Kerr announced her retirement in 1969, though she continued to make occasional appearances on stage and in feature and TV movies. She received 6 Academy Award nominations for Best Actress and was awarded an honorary Lifetime Achievement Oscar in 1993. Deborah Kerr's extensive film legacy is unlike any other. On the surface she was the epitome of class and propriety. Look closer and you'll find what lies beneath, be it the darkness inside her characters or the darkness inside ourselves. Kerr's women were dangerous because, like nearly all of us, they offered the world a veneer of propriety belying countless socially unacceptable urges. Those in turn could lead to a whole array of fates worse than death: social ostracism, emotional despair, psychological fragmentation, and scariest of all, facing up to one's own inner core. How many actresses could have been ideal heroines for Pasolini, Mal, Brunel, Hitchcock, and Almodovar? 5 disparate talents who have explored the hidden corners of human sexual desire. Deborah Kerr was one. Deborah Kerr died at the age of 86 in Suffolk, England, on October 16, 2007, due to complications arising out of Parkinson's disease. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new here, and if you want to support my work, please visit my Patreon page. Now it is your turn. What do you think about the life and legacy of Deborah Kerr, the new image of women created by Deborah Kerr on the edge of the blade during the 50s? In the golden age of censorship, a female ideal depicted in this way freely came with many misunderstandings.